Welcome to another episode of the Truth, Lies Shenanigans podcast. I'm Nio Nyx, and in this episode, we're going to be talking Star Trek versus Star Wars. My co-host today, the lovely Gianni Storm and the rock star Rob B Rok.
Yes. What's up?
All right, I have a feeling you guys like to try new foods, that you're kind of adventurous, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So, what's the most unusual food you've ever tried, and would you eat it again?
Ooh, that is tough. Well, not really.
Well,
The most unusual,
Yeah.
I would say, you guys are gonna laugh. I would say is squid. Is
That's
it
the most unusual.
like the squid? Yeah. Never would try again because of the texture.
Okay.
is it similar to calamari?
No, calamari is squid.
Oh, it
Oh,
is calamari. Thank you, Rob. That's the word. Literally.
Ooh.
I would never try calamari again.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird texture.
Well, you know
Nasty.
what? So here's the thing. I have tried, because I hated calamari and the texture too. Sometimes it's not cooked right. It's often overcooked. So
Oh, okay.
you
Okay.
have to go to like a real restaurant and try calamari. I don't like either texture, but there is a difference,
better.
and it is better if it's cooked properly. I just want to,
Okay. That's a good point.
yeah. So just try a real restaurant. Don't go to like Red Lobster
My
and try,
friend.
try calamari. It's not really
Literally.
good.
Yeah.
What about you, Rob?
I don't know, man. Like, I definitely have an adventurous palate, and I think that part of that stems from my experience with the Boy Scouts,
Mhm.
because the things that you learn to eat when you're out there foraging, just like the root
Yeah.
of cat's tail in a bog or a swamp, just different types of insects.
I was gonna say you eat bugs.
Ew.
I feel, yeah. So
Oh,
Rob,
absolutely.
Rob
I've
would have eaten
definitely
bugs.
foraged.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You said a
Yeah,
rabbit's tail?
No.
A cat's tail. So in your, basically it's like a reed with like a
It's a plant.
brown, it's a
Oh.
plant that you find in marshes.
Oh, okay. They just
Yeah.
call it that.
But if you can eat the root, it's a couple of inches long. It's white. It's round, and it does have some nutritional value. So
Nutrition.
something.
Ugh.
Rob,
Yeah.
eat that cat's tail, Chinese food.
I was like,
local
oh.
restaurants serving cat's tail.
Well, if you guys are in the
Authentic
South, then
cuisine.
like pig's feet, what is it? Pig's feet, turkey neck. That's common here. They're like, oh, you don't eat chicken. What is it
Oh,
called?
that's French cuisine, also, my friend.
Giblets
Yeah, I've
and-
eaten my share of
Ew.
blood sausage.
Yeah,
I'll pass. I'll
know,
pass.
I'm pretty adventurous. I'll pretty much try anything, but I haven't done anything like, Fear Factor used to do like the cow penises and the.
No.
Yeah, I've never done anything like that.
Yeah.
Livers.
I think maybe
I
the
believe
most
that eggs have a shelf life. I believe that.
eggs. Yeah, right. 100-year-old egg. I've seen those. Yeah.
Like,
Right?
no, sir.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Poison.
But the 100-year-old eggs aren't really 100 years old. They're just
But
like,
I mean, if there was a 6-digit incentive at the end, then you'd be surprised at what I could chow down.
yeah, right. I'm with you. I'm pretty
Anyone.
adventurous. I think the most unusual thing I've done is like, it's not really that adventurous, just frog legs or maybe like
Okay.
rabbit.
It
I've had
is.
rabbit. Rabbit actually was very tasty. I mean, but
No.
it's
Those
I
poor
didn't like it
rabbits.
because it was a little more tough than chicken, but it tastes basically like chicken. So I
Or
didn't-
gerbils.
not gerbils. I didn't eat any gerbils.
Oh goodness!
They're part of the same family.
All right. Okay. I gotta jump in and get this train back on the tracks.
Go for it.
All right, folks, gather around the
I love
holodeck
it.
and set your phasers to fun, because we're about to jump to light speed into a galaxy of debate that's as vast as the Federation itself. So
Yes.
today we're tackling a question that might just cause a disturbance in the Force and have Trekkies and Jedi Knights locking sabers and communicators in a cosmic showdown. So the motion before the council is that Star Wars has exerted a more significant influence on society and culture than Star Trek.
Star
So
Wars.
whether so whether you're more at home on the bridge of the Enterprise or doing the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs, it's time to decide. Will you join the Rebel Alliance, or will you stand with the Federation when deciding which franchise left a deeper warp signature on our world?
Federation.
Beam us up, Scotty, because this conversation is about to go into hyperdrive. So
Beam me up, Scotty.
There's so many iconic things from both franchises. I'm going to open up with that. But let's start the conversation by just giving a brief overview of what the franchises actually have produced. Okay. So Star Wars has given us 11 movies, 4 live-action series, 6 animated series, and host a variety of theme park attractions across the world.
Wow.
Star Trek has given us 13 movies, 8 live-action series, 3 animated series, and features 1 live attraction in Germany. So,
wow.
But given that, I really want to start talking about...
That's only because Disney owns Star Wars. Go ahead.
Look at him.
See?
Already.
I know, right? The apologist already. It's
whatever.
But yeah, I would like to talk about some of the cultural influences that both franchises have put out there. And Johnny, let's hear your thoughts on this.
I know. I think that's honestly for me, I do feel there is more impact from Star Wars. And the reason from Star Wars, the reason I say that is I'm not a sci-fi genre kind of person. And the only reason I know Star Wars is because of the fandom, the culture of Star Wars. And it seems like Star Wars kind of like kicked this whole thing off. Like they revolutionized this genre, the space spy sci-fi genre. True. No. I thought it was true.
Go ahead.
And not only that,
check that.
Exactly. They've not only influenced our culture, because like I said, it's along the lines of like the Harry Potters and the Twilights. Those are bad examples, but just giving you the mindset of how the culture kind of shifted with Star Wars. And this was back in the, I think, 70s? The 70s, mid 70s. So huge impact. And then came Star Trek. But I do like Star Trek too. Star Wars is more personable.
Wait.
Okay.
You said first there was Star Wars and then there was Star Trek.
Yes.
Now, Rob B knows that is not the case.
From a cinematic experience, yes.
No, we're cinematic. We're not talking cinematic. Star Trek 1966. Try again. 66. Star Wars went until 1977.
I stand corrected. So 11 years different.
More than a decade before.
Why wasn't it popular then?
It was. What are you talking about? It was.
What?
Well, Nio, the original television series really had difficulty staying on air. They really did because the viewership wasn't there originally. You have to.
But part of the reason was because it was breaking ground, not just in terms of technology, but in terms of diversity, equity, inclusion. We're in Star Wars, where the black people. I guess there was one.
Yeah, there was one.
There was one.
In the original series, we had Lando, and we loved him. We loved him.
That's true. Okay, so. But I think they stole that from horror anyway. But then
new Star Wars, one of the principal actors, Finn, was a black actor.
But do you know how much flack he took?
They sprinkled in some black people.
Do you know how much? Do you know how? I mean,
oh my gosh, he took so much flack for it.
Oh my God, he was attacked for being. My God, it was horrible because Star Wars fans are not open. Okay, how many gay LGBTQ people?
That's true.
In Star Wars,
are there like LGBT characters? LGBTQ characters? Not. I don't watch it enough. You guys would know.
I mean,
but that's a good point.
And also, if you talk about social issues, Star Wars doesn't really attack social issues. They're just a fantasy thing. So when you talk Star Trek has attacked racism, sexism, war. I mean, of LGBTQ, there's been episodes specifically related to those. They even had an episode where they handled racism. There was a species that was half black, half white, literally.
Oh, wow.
Like literally. Cool. So half of their face was black, half of their face was white. And they really attacked racism. They attacked the social issues. Ah, man, you talk about effect.
But That's why it was boring. Because in the Star
Because
Wars,
it attacked social issues, it was boring.
yes, because
Neo,
they didn't make it interesting. In Star Wars, I feel like there was actually like the typical hero story, the hero villain story, but they made it so iconic that's why it's such a bond around that movie. I mean, it's bigger.
It's
That's my
science
opinion.
fiction. It's science fiction versus science fantasy. And science fantasy
Right.
isn't heavy-handed in teaching lessons, Neo. That's not what it's about. It's about escaping. It's about living that fantasy, that
Thank
hero
you.
kind of scenario, right? So that's why the Star Wars franchise resounds more with people. But I wanted to circle back to LGBTQ characters because Star Wars doesn't get heavy-handed in those lessons. But I love that Lando Calrissian is actually officially confirmed as pansexual. That explains the cape.
So he's pansexual
in the last
and black.
10 years? What, in the last 10 years he was? What are you talking about? We're talking about this was 1966. They were attacking racism, LGBTQ. What are you talking about?
Lando and Leia have moments.
Try saying Lando was pansexual in 1974. Right?
No.
Whatever.
That's a good point, Neo. So Star Trek was handling it way before.
But from a philosophical aspect, ethics, social justice, I will absolutely concede that Star Trek was ahead of its time.
Well, there we go. There we go.
I will cede that in a heartbeat.
So what was your original statement, though?
That Star Wars has had a deeper cultural effect than Star Trek.
Than Star Trek.
Star Wars popularized the concept of the space opera. So many movies have come forth that follow that similar formula. They've influenced
Guardians
so
of the
many
Galaxy.
Fifth Element, like storytellers.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
The characters are iconic. They have permeated pop culture, like Johnny was alluding to earlier. That's how she knows Star Wars, because of the fandom. The merchandising revolution created a vast array of products, my friends. A vast array of products.
Look at Rob's
She wouldn't have known anything about Star Trek if it wasn't for Disney. She wouldn't have known Star Wars.
If she walks through the Lego aisle, the toy aisle in any store,
she would. If it wasn't for Disney, if it wasn't for Disney, she wouldn't know anything about no Star Wars. That's all it is.
Even little black kids were rocking the lightsaber.
They throw so much money at it.
Rob has
You want to talk money? Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up, because the 11 movies that Star Wars created, $60 billion in revenue. The 13 movies that Star Trek put out and their franchises on television, $2 billion in revenue. So we're not even in the same neighborhood, my friend. Not even in the same class of starship.
So they do have more of an impact.
No.
Rob?
Okay, well then let's talk technology.
Okay.
Oh, yes, please.
Let's talk about what would not exist today had Star Trek in 1966 not started pushing the envelope. Mobile phones, tablet computers, voice assistants, AI and ChatGPT probably wouldn't exist if Star Trek had not pushed the envelope on that. Robotics. I mean, you remember Data?
Wow.
Large touchscreen displays. That's something straight from Star Trek. Siri and Google Assistant, those are specifically from computer. Tell me, blah, 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 blah.
Wow.
Robotics, remote surgery, universal translator. They're almost there with universal translators, where you just wear something in your ear and you're talking to somebody with a universal translator. Augmented reality. Geordie LaForge's visor, for example. Augmented reality. Holograms. So when we talk virtual reality, I mean, all of these are coming directly from Star Trek. Social networks, online databases, space shuttle technology was specifically built around. Matter of fact, they even named one of the shuttles Enterprise. Real-time health monitoring devices, smartwatches, wearable devices, all stemming from Star Trek. Now tell me what things have been developed. We're not even, lightsabers aren't
pretty heavy.
Nobody cares about a lightsaber.
We were like,
lightsabers aren't even going to happen.
Shut up, Neo.
Yeah. Oh my God, they are in development, and they're plasma swords. They're happening, Neo. They have been in development for years.
They are in
And
development.
the concept of cutting through plate metal with a plasma sword
Nobody
appeals
needs
to
that.
everybody.
I would take a smartphone over that any day.
Everyone
Give me
needs it.
Siri over
Lightsabers over
over a
guns.
lightsaber.
Okay, but you wanted to get Star Wars has influenced the design and concept of modern drones and robotics. They are cited as the inspiration by many scientists and engineers in space exploration, vehicle design. I'm going to say an equal representation is Star Trek. I'll give you that one. The Force
Equal.
has
There's no way it's equal. The
On
science
Metacritic.
behind, matter of fact, the science behind the Star Wars vehicles is not even accurate. But go ahead.
But the Force has sparked many discussions about metaphysics, the universe, blending science with spirituality. Exactly.
Thank you.
Oh, speaking of spirituality,
Star Trek's handle spirituality. They don't even
Jediism.
Science fiction.
Jediism is a religion, my friend.
What?
Hundreds
It
of
is?
thousands of people ascribe to Jediism. Okay, and I'm just going on. So, as far as technology is concerned, Neo, you wouldn't have the quality of Star Trek movies that you have if it wasn't for Industrial Light and Magic, who revolutionized CGI and special effects. Revolutionized it.
You wouldn't be able to watch it on home on a big screen TV if it wasn't for Star Trek.
Lightsabers.
Okay.
Absolutely a proven concept, and they are working towards them. There's a group of engineers that I watch on YouTube. They make science fiction reality, and they have been working on a prototype, advancing it over the last 5 years. It's incredible. Droids,
how many times you go to grocery stores and the doors open for you? Where do you think that came from?
Hologram technology was used in
Star Trek. Automatic doors. Star Trek.
So it does sound like Star Trek has some pretty
3D printing. Star Trek.
Hover vehicles and speeder bikes.
Damn.
Nobody's using those.
Shut up! Hover bikes are happening.
I have a hoverboard.
The hoverboard idea did not come from Star Wars. The hoverboard idea came from Back to the Future. Not even.
Somebody slap that kid. Somebody slap him now. But bionic limbs and prosthetics. Luke Skywalker's hand. Come on, man.
What are you talking about? That came from Star Trek. You can't. No, there's definitely been bionics. Matter of fact, bionics came long before Star Wars, because $6 Million Man, the Bionic Woman was before Star Wars.
But they influenced it.
Yeah, but that's it. When it comes to merchandising rules and royalties, Star Wars set the bar for that because they were so successful. So successful that they didn't recognize that it was something of value. And then when the merchandising blew up, it revolutionized the industry because everybody said, oh man, we need this cash cow.
All right.
Yeah.
Every single toy franchise.
Okay, let's talk social issues. Let's go back to social issues. So you got to remember. So basically, there's these little creatures, little puffballs, and So we're talking about invasive species, ecosystem, balance of ecosystems. Boom.
Yeah.
Star Trek.
So you're talking about storytelling.
Yeah, that's just everybody has storytelling in their show.
Star Wars handles no social issues. What are you talking about?
Fascism.
Okay, so dystopian.
Thank you, Johnny.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Johnny.
One thing.
You're welcome. Well, that's.
Wait,
and
let me finish.
There's been mass genocide. It's absolutely.
Yes.
The social issues are interwoven in the characters. They don't have to be overt about it. You just have to be paying attention.
I already talked about the last.
Thank you.
Let this be your last Battlefield episode. Literally half black, half white faces. Measure of a Man. Talking about AI and ethics there. Let's see, The Outcast. Outcast was a great one. That was about LGBTQ, so addressed gender identity, sexual orientation, because there was an androgynous race. Again, this was the original. This was back in the 60s that they were talking LGBTQ stuff. Sarek,
that is pretty
talking about mental illness. So Ambassador Sarek had a struggle with a degenerative mental illness, and he talked about how mental illness, who watches the Watchers, the Prime Directive, come on. The impact of cultural contamination. So when we're going we're colonizing things. Then the series
they
finale,
did have some real issues.
Jean-Luc Picard, who Gianni refers to as Professor X.
Not fun for everyone. Heavy-handed storytelling.
Heavy.
Want
moralistic.
For kids?
We learned something. We learned something in every episode. Every time you watch Star Trek, you learn something new.
In Star Wars and Star Trek, who was the age group targeted? Who was this targeting? Like, was it teenagers at this time? Was it adults? Yeah. Because that probably goes hand in hand. I would say Star Wars probably
targeted a younger audience for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, they do a much better job of marketing themselves in that respect. Because if we go back to the animated series, for example, Star Trek has a total of 70-some episodes going for them, whereas with 3 series, whereas the 6 animated series from the Star Wars stuff, they've got hundreds of episodes. So what they're doing is they're engaging their audience at a very young age. That's branding. And when we're talking about the cultural impact, the lessons that the Jedi impart, knowledge and wisdom, self-discipline and training, compassion and service, peace and nonviolence, harmony with the Force, so being just at harmony with your surroundings, integrity and honesty, courage and justice. So these are just tenets that are always represented by the Jedi Knights, who the kids really identify with. That's who they aspire to be. So we're shaping those young minds and hooking them early, then they're diehard fans for life. They're going to go back and visit the back catalog and go, oh my goodness, I can't believe that they shot this like this. But they did. And that's part of the magic.
Oh, the nostalgia of it all. I think that I cannot have a true stake in this fight because I haven't truly watched a full movie of either, be honest with you. But
fair enough.
Star Wars, I watched mainly because my brother was into Star Wars. He was into Star Trek, so I did see little snippets of the episodes. From what I did see, I always felt like it was a serious tone. And I was like, okay, I'm really learning something here. Yep. But you can take away something from both.
That's a good wrap up. You're absolutely right. You can take away something from both. If I'm being honest, I appreciate both of them. But
yeah,
I do like Star Trek better. I think Star Trek raised me on some good morals and good values. I used to watch Star Trek when I was little. I would watch it all the time. And I learned a lot of key things that affect me today in terms of how I treat people, how I treat others. I got into the technology field. So Star Trek had a huge impact on me, specifically Star Trek The Next Generation.
Yeah.
I've rewatched that like the entire series several times at this point. But yeah,
and it gave us the Borg.
The Borg. I mean, there were so many stories, like Jean-Luc Picard, who Gianni refers to as Professor X. I mean, fantastic actor. I mean, Deep Space Nine. There's just so many things that really resonate with me as far as Star Trek. But again, I do love Star Wars. Star Wars has great stories. It's very commercialized, so yes, it makes a lot more money. But I do enjoy the stories. I mean, there were about 3 of the movies were horrible. The second round.
Rob's like, well.
I will say the more recent movies have been fantastic. So that's where I stand. And I agree with you, Gianni. I agree with you that you can take a lot from both.
When you really think about it, Star Wars just has that magic touch, doesn't it? It's sure Star Trek gives us a cool peek into the future, but Star Wars, it's everywhere. It's in our jokes, our memes, our whole vibe. It's like no matter where you go, there's a bit of Star Wars in the air. And that's the kind of influence that sticks with you. So yeah, between the two, Star Wars is definitely the heavyweight champion in shaping our culture.
No way. Totally different.
Neo's like, by the way, no.
Nope. No way.
All right, my friends. So back to our opening statement that Star Wars has exerted a more significant influence on society and culture than Star Trek. Truth, lies, or shenanigans?
Truth.
Lies. Not even shenanigans. I'm sorry. Straight lies.
Not even in the middle?
Straight lies.
Okay.
Straight Lies. There's no question Star Trek has had a bigger impact on our society. No question.
Crazy.
I mean, there's
agree to disagree.
There's a lot of things.
We'll agree to disagree.
A lot of things that just would not exist
without Star Trek. Fair.
Without Star Wars either.
My list is longer. No question. Well, this is where our episode was supposed to have ended, but we had some really funny banter after the recording, so I thought I'd share it with you. Here is some bonus content.
But seriously though, as far as Star Trek, they really influence all of those technologies, or they just kind of started it? And
there was a longer list. No. I didn't even name them all. Let's see.
But I mean, Star Wars and Star Trek have had some very
teleconferencing.
Similar. That's what I'm saying.
Teleconferencing, hypospray.
Very similar.
Hypospray is like an injection system. So like diabetes and stuff, they use like an injection system similar to the hypospray. Yeah. Biometric security. Biometric security. Even antimatter containment is something that they're actually working towards to power systems. Wireless earphones. It's influenced by the communicator devices. LED lighting came from Star Trek. Speech recognition. The list just goes on and on.
That's insane.
Translator droids are walking AI, right? Live real-time translation. Yeah. So I mean, the translator droid had that nailed down. Yeah.
Which is better, to have it actually live translated immediately, or wait for it?
Fucking droid to hang out with.
A buddy.
What's cooler? A fucking robot. Oh my god.
Listen, they got real robots. Cooler. They got AI and real robots.
They were much more advanced. But Rob gave that to you already. He said he agrees that they were more technologically advanced, but they just didn't have the bigger impact. Is what he said.
But but that's not true. Because how do you culturally?
Neo?
I mean, culturally,
because the culture
is so. We talk about Facebook. We talk about all of the technologies that we use and everything that we do, how we even interact today. Like, we wouldn't have been able, without Star Trek, we wouldn't even be able to probably do this, because the whole idea of teleconferencing and communicating via this, because at the time we were all using telephones. This concept of speaking across using video conferencing wasn't even a concept in their brains until Star Trek. So what we're able to do today, I'm talking 1966, again, where they were using, like, barely had telephone lines, like real telephones. I mean, there wasn't answering machines and stuff like that. So all of these technologies were in the 60s, inspired by Star Trek.
Fair.
I mean, I'm not even sure video conferencing, for example, was in Star Wars, or did they communicate because they did holographic communication?
They did the holographic thing.
Yeah, no, those don't exist.
Which is even more advanced.
Really?
Those don't exist.
Sure Tupac performed. I'm pretty sure.
What about a projection?
So, fuck you. Again, fuck you.
Tupac did perform. Look what we're using our holographic technology for.
And
Lord have mercy.
Are more people looking to the sign? Are more people looking at scientists and going, wow, that's amazing? Or are they looking on stage and going, entertain us some more? Entertain us.
This is humanity. Yeah, that's true.
Whatever.
We're a niche. The smart people are a niche. You've got to recognize that.
It's true.
Us nerds are still a niche. Well, now that is officially all the time we have for this episode. We hope you enjoyed the bonus content, but I really want to know what you thought. Star Trek versus Star Wars. What do you think? Hit us up on our socials, or go to podsnetwork.com, pods, P-O-D-Z, network.com, and leave a comment directly on the episode and tell us what you thought. I'd like to thank my co-hosts, Rob B Rok, Gianni Storm. But most importantly, we've always got to thank you for listening to our shenanigans each and every week. Have a great week.